Michael here with learnphoto.info. Just going to do a practical lens test on a Tamron 150-600. Its max aperture is 5 through 6.3 depending on focal length there. I purchased this lens used recently and tested it in the field. When I was buying it, was confident I had a good copy, but now I'm really confirming that at my feeders. And by practical test, I mean I'm not going to be scientific about this. I'm going to just use this lens in a way I like to work, which is photographing, little birds around the feeder. I'm often wide open and at a very close focusing distance. So uh, let's take a look here. We're going to start out by zooming in to 100% on these Photoshop files to see what the detail looks like. And now I'll put the focus point on the eye wherever possible, and immediately we can see we got sharpness in around the eye, but you'll notice that we have out of focus area in the foreground, the shoulder of the bird and this limb here. And that's to be expected. We've got a long lens at a very close to its minimum focusing distance, and there's very shallow depth of field, and that's just to be expected. But the important thing is we are seeing the sharpness here. If we go over, let's do quickly just to show you what we've got here. I'm shooting off of the old version of the 6D. This is a G2 Tamron. This is the generation 2, so that's supposed to have better seals in it and maybe a little sharper than the first version. We're at 600, 1/60th of a second at f6.3, so it's wide open, ISO 5000. It was an overcast day, I had to go there, but it looks pretty good at that too. It's amazing what you can do these days with ISO. Okay, so that's what you have there. Now let's look at another photo here, and let's get that up to 100% also here for you. And now you can see here I've used some artificial light. I blended it with the ambient light to get more depth of field for one thing, and also to pop these colors. And I find that I get I've got the flash at an angle, so it's really showing me the detail and the plumage. Just to show you where we're set here, just real fast, jump on that. And so now I'm at 1/25th f11, drop the ISO down to 3200, flash fired. Okay, everything else is the same. But you'll notice now I've got a little bit more depth of field here where, it's still going to be razor thin, but I've got this shoulder of the bird in focus and the eye, which is what we want. And boy, you look down and you can see all the detail and these feathers in the wing, and that's satisfactory results there. And again, I've got just a subject that's willing to pose for me, which makes it easier. You can see that when you have that shallow depth of field, if you can get the bird on the plane of focus like this one here, you're going to get a much more pleasing result than this next example I'll show you. This is, by the way, a Townsend's warbler. Always fun to have them come into the feeder. But so you see that we have a plane of focus. If you're looking at the branch down here, and that very shallow plane of focus. I think I'm stopped down on this one too, but let's see where we're at here. No, I've got this one wide open at 6.3, thousandth of a second, ISO 1600, and this was a different day and the light had popped out a little bit, so this is available light. But again, getting that bird when it turns onto the plane of focus allows me to get more in focus. You can see where the tail's out of focus, but that's really not egregious to the picture. Your eye's really going in here, and so we can live with that. I wanted to show you this other photo here, and this is just dark-eyed junco, and this is just to show you something about that depth of field. And what I was doing is I see this bird is perpendicular now to the plane of focus. And I put the focus point right on this transition zone between the brown feathers and the gray. And I knew that, hey, I wasn't excited about the photo because he's on the feeder and stuff, but I knew that I would be able to see that depth of field pretty clearly here. So let's go up to 100% on that. One more. Okay, and now you can see I'm putting the focus point here, and I can see the sharpness falling off in the foreground pretty quickly. And I've got a little bit of sharpness back almost to the beginning of the eye, but the eye looks soft to me, and of course the beak is way out of focus. So you can see we've got this lens, and any lens, when you're working at 600mm, you're wide open and you're at a very close focusing distance. This is to be expected that you would have very shallow depth of field. And in this case, this is a sparrow-sized bird. That's probably 3/4 of an inch at best. And so when that bird turns onto the plane of focus, where his body is sideways to the camera, you're going to have a better. You're probably going to have a picture you're happier with. So that's a little depth of field test with you. Now the Tamron has the tap-in console that allows you to put firmware updates in and also to micro adjust that focus. So I would consider moving it forward just a little bit, so when I hit on the eye, I've got a little more in front focused. That's yet to be determined if I want to go to that length, but you can see here at least where your focus is and where you're at, so you can make those adjustments in camera as well when you're out shooting in the field, which is what we've had to do in the past anyways. One last thing about this lens that I really truly love, it's a very simple thing, but in the tripod foot, they've cut grooves in there that fit the Arca Swiss style ball heads, of which I have, and now I don't have to put a plate on and worry about that thing staying tight. It's built right into the lens, and that's just simple, good engineering. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Tamron, for thinking of that. I hope other camera manufacturers will see the wisdom of that and follow suit. Anyways, I think I'm happy with this lens. A little more reach than my Canon 100-400, and again, I bought it used. The price was right, so I'm gonna go out and play with it some more. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you. Have a great day and keep shooting.